digital to physical.
Okay, so I've given myself this challenge to do one garment a week for 12 weeks, film the process, make a CLO 3D sample of it, and make a physical sample of it, make a YouTube video, and publish it every week for 12 weeks. And this is week 1 of 12. And I'm going to kick it off with Lever's lace. So Lever's lace has this beautiful, rich, literally history. It's been around for over 100 years, and it's usually reserved for making high-end couture garments.
Thousands of individual threads, loaded by hand, are woven together to create one of the most intricate fabrics in the world, Lever's lace.
And there aren't many machines or people left in the world that can produce this material. Now, high-end couture, super fancy garments are usually not what I'm drawn to for myself. And I've never had the opportunity to see or work with Lever's lace in real life. But in this video, I'm going to show you how I used CLO 3D to help me take these scraps and then turn them into this beautiful lingerie set you see right here. So on an Underdressed Podcast episode that Sofia Luzon co-hosted with me back in May of 2023, we had on a guest whose name was Harrison, who was representing Tianhai Lace, which is a manufacturer of lace in China. And I told Sofia afterwards that I had never had the opportunity to work or see real Lever's lace before. So if you've seen me talk about Sofia on this channel before, you know I'm a huge fan of her work. She had her own brand where she was making these very high-end handmade garments using the best materials that she could possibly find. And she was kind enough to send me some scraps that she had left over from when she was developing her collections. So I held on to these precious scraps for a little while, and then I came across this YouTube video where these two friends sent each other thrifted finds for each other to upcycle. And I pitched this idea to Sofia, where I would send her some fabric that I have in my studio that I typically work with. Think comfortable knits with a lot of stretch and made for lounging. And then this would give me the motivation to actually take the lace samples that she had sent me and turn them into real garments. So this idea is really exciting for me because I love the idea of fabrics being able to fulfill their destiny and actually become garments. I feel like it's there once a fabric is made, it's not complete. Its life isn't complete until it becomes actualized as a garment. So I'm really excited to take these very precious bits of material that I have, these precious bits of laces, and give them a full life. So when I pitched the idea to Sofia, she said yes immediately. She was super excited about it. And it's exciting for us because Sofia, like I said, is very ethereal and high end and she loves really interesting, intricate details in her designs, whereas I'm much more minimalist and clean, and I like simple, well-constructed designs. So the idea here is for me to take a little bit of inspiration from her and her to take a little bit of inspiration from me and see what we come up with. It gives us the opportunity to play with different artistic constraints that we wouldn't normally place on ourselves. So I want to share some of the highlights of the process while I was making this set. Something I really love about CLO 3D is that it makes the execution of a garment more intentional. By drafting and designing and modeling my idea in 3D before actually cutting and sewing the garment, I get to refine the concept more before wasting any time or materials, sewing it up and ending up with something that I'm not happy with. So probably my favorite pieces of all the ones that Sofia sent was this black Lever's lace, which was oddly shaped, and I had only these little bits of it, and I wanted to maximize the use of the eyelash edge. So I took these images of the lace and I removed the background, and I made sure that they were appropriate scale when I brought them into CLO. So I knew the exact amount of lace that I actually had to work with these scraps. And if you're curious on how I did that, I made another video on how I use lace in CLO 3D, which I will make sure I link down below. So I have these bits of lace and I'm deciding what kind of lingerie I can make with them. And I decide I have enough of this scalloped edge probably to use along the neckline of a bra pattern. So I got to drafting. I started with my block pattern, which I documented and showed the development of in this other YouTube video, which I will also link down below. So once I decided on a design that I was happy with and I figured I had enough lace to make it happen, I still decided I wanted to make a physical test garment because I really didn't want to waste this lever's lace. So I made the first version of this pattern with a lace from my stash. You can see here when I export the pattern from CLO, the image of the lace that I applied in CLO comes along with it so that when I'm cutting it out, I can place the lace exactly where I placed it in CLO. So if you want to learn how to use CLO to draft and develop your own intimate apparel designs, I highly recommend checking out Wayfinder Intimate Apparel Academy. You will learn the essential skills of how to use CLO to model your own intimate apparel. And in my most recent course, Advanced Intimate Apparel Underwire Bras, you'll learn how to draft a pattern based on measurements, model that pattern in CLO 3D on a customized avatar, which you can then also sew a physical garment out of. No fake 3D tricks here. So since I decided to make my first version out of this less expensive lace, I really had the opportunity to compare the lever's lace to something that is more affordable. When I pulled it out, the details between the expensive lever's lace and the less expensive lace that I used for the initial version of this bra became very apparent. And Sofia, now I hate you because how am I ever going to go back to working with not lever's expensive fancy lace? So when I compare them side by side, you can really see how much more intricate the design of the lever's lace is in terms of the use of negative space and the contrast between the sheerness of the holes in the fabric.
We are selling holes. We are selling a fabric with mainly holes, so it's mainly empty, but it is why it's so interesting because we have artistic possibility.
You can really see the difference in the use of negative space and variation in transparency and texture. And these details are what make all the difference. So here's how the first version came out, and I was super happy with it. I think the design is really pretty. I've kind of been obsessed with this teal blue duoplex that I got from Emerald Erin's shop. The only thing, there was a small issue with the fit. On the fuller side, the neckline was cutting in a little bit into my breast tissue. And this is the type of thing that just won't show up in CLO because, as I've said before, fitting in CLO is like fitting on a hard mannequin. So it'll get you 90% of the way there to ensure that you have the right fit and you like the design, but you really need to try the physical garment on a human body to really understand what the execution of fit will be like for that garment. So here I'll insert me working in CLO and I'll talk through the pattern changes that I did. Okay, so here we are back in CLO and this is the upper cut pattern after I made the pattern changes. So let's go over into the 2D window and let's talk about the pattern. So over here is V1 of the pattern. So this is V1, the one that you just saw on the physical garment that I just showed you. And then this one here is V2. So I'm going to show you the results of this pattern change in just a second here. But if I switch this to random color surface and I overlay V1 over V2, you can see how the pattern changed. And now I just want to show you how I got from version 1 to version 2. So I'm just going to delete these internal lines. I'm going to cut this away because I don't need the extension. And then what I did was I used the fullness point tool, this one here. And I started at the apex and I went to somewhere in the middle of the upper cup. And then I hovered over both sections to get the blue line over both. And then I opened it up by 3.1 centimeters. Now I still need a straight edge at the top, so I'm going to delete those curve points, and then we want to smooth out this line at the bottom. So I'm going to use the smooth curve tool and smooth that out. And then I'm going to use the curve tool and turn it back into a curve like that. Maybe a little more. And then I'm going to turn these back into curve points. So this is how I corrected the fit issue of the upper cup cutting into my breast tissue to allow there to be more space for the pattern to wrap around that area. So after making these changes to the pattern, I applied that new pattern to the lace scraps that I had originally in my original file. And you can see that the lace piece doesn't fit on my pattern anymore, especially if I add the seam allowance on. So I didn't have quite enough for it. So what I did was I just cut off a piece of this corner down here and attached it on here. I just did a little zigzag stitch to attach them. And in the final version, you can't really see that. So it worked out okay. So finally, I dared to cut into the precious scraps that I had, and I made a real garment out of it. And then I had a little bit left over still, so I made a pair of pants to go with it as well. I love the color combination. This blue is a bit of a nod to Sofia's Ondina collection, which is probably one of my favorite collections that she's designed. The fit is excellent, and the lace has become actualized into a garment that will be worn and loved for many years. So now I was super happy with how the set came out, and I was ready to share it with Sofia.
Yeah, for me, like having access to that kind of lace through my brand completely spoiled me. Now I cannot buy something with lace. Remember when we had that podcast with
Tianhai.
yes, Harrison?
Yeah.
Wyatt? And he was like, oh, like we have new machines that imitate like traditional liver's lace. Would you be able, like, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference? And he showed some, and I was like, yes, I would be able to tell the
Yeah. Okay, close that. Okay, so this is the original design that I came up with.
It's super pretty.
Okay, so here, if I go to print layout, so these were the pieces that I had to work with. In the simulation, if I look at the graphic image, you can see how it's laid out.
Yeah.
So this was the final 3D rendered version, so you've seen this. But like, even in CLO, you can see how much prettier this lace is compared to the first version. With the ugly, I call it ugly. It's not like it's not an ugly lace. Just
Yeah, like it's not ugly. It's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, like even the first version was cute too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and like the final shape is great. Like I think it's the last remnants.
The last you said it, and I'm going to show this. You said it in your little message to me. Original Lever's lace, my very last scrap.
Yeah, like actually that lace, that specific one, it's made in France in one of the, I think it's like 3 or 4 companies that still use the original Lever's machine. And like this company, I think the machines are from the, I don't know, 18th century.
Yeah, from like the late 1800s.
Yeah. It's like, it's so interesting that you get to wear a piece of history. And
Yes. Yeah.
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 Mm.
And it's
So if you want to see what I sent to Sofia and what she makes with it, you're going to have to go and check out her channel, and I will make sure I link that below. But for now, here's a sneak peek of what she has planned.
So the idea is to have a set or like a mini capsule collection that is comfortable but also feels kind of like luxurious. Like you feel like it's an indulgence. Like it's not like you are not wearing that because it's comfortable and I'm going to be at home, so anyways, who cares? It's more like I'm going to be at home and I care.
yeah.
So this is more or less the idea. So for the bra, like if we go closer,
Oh,
I have
cool.
used like garter clips. The fabric that you sent me is ribbed.
I love it. Super cool.
So I am super excited to see the physical garments that Sofia comes up with. She is absolutely my favorite designer. Thanks for being here, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.
Goodbye. Make sure to like and subscribe, please.